Second, it's preparing.
Recording is on.
There you go. So yeah, this is the process for farmer enrollment. It's basically going to be the same for everybody, and I'll point out the spots where it's different. The first thing is obviously to create a login. When you first go to SurveyStack, you can do that. You guys already have logins, but it's sort of obvious. The second thing I think that's worth doing, we haven't talked about, but it is worth it. Over here on the side, there's a documentation link, and we have pretty good documentation across the app. Not every single feature, but a lot. And I would really suggest before people like create their own surveys to read this best practices section. It's just like, you know, creating a survey is not about doing the technical stuff. It's actually about thinking about how to design it. This gives you a little bit of stuff there. How to create a new survey, just, you know, clicking on the build survey buttons and stuff. And then because we're using it, the question set library, again, we've already talked about it, but for somebody new coming in, if this video is being recorded, I would go read this section. So assuming that we've done that and you've created a login, the first thing we need to do is create a group. You guys have a group, but just to show how it's done, you know, in SurveyStack, you're logged in, you go over to groups, you're gonna create a new group, and in that group, you're gonna put in the name. I'm not gonna create this because you have one, and then click on create. Once you have a group, you can push submissions to it, which means that any submission that goes to that group, if there's private data in that submission, the group admins can see it, and group admins can resubmit or reassign those submissions, which is important when you're trying to fix mistakes, work with farms, submit on people's behalf, stuff like that. So it's really important to just always start with a group so that you have some administrative privileges to data being submitted. So it's also important to just think about your group structure. I think you guys, if I recall, right now we don't have a group structure for Regen Digital, but I think long-term you'll want to have some subgroups for each of the assessor regions. Is that fair to say?
We think we might make the NRMs groups and each landscape agronomist a subgroup within each NRM region subgroup, so subgroups.
Yep. I think that makes sense. Something like that. So that if you have a new administrator in a region, then the old one goes away and the new one comes in and there's no loss, right? Everything still works. They have access to what they need, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just thinking about group structure is important before you get collecting a whole bunch of data. So that's step 2 is group. Step 3 is actually building your, oh, I can't see that. So if someone wants to just pipe up basically and interrupt. So the next step is to actually create your like enrollment survey before we enroll, because enrolling people and not having an enrollment survey with data is not useful. So if you're creating an enrollment survey, again, you guys already have one, but just to show the process, I'm going to say, you know, like my custom enrollment. This is used for like collecting the basic farm data, farm level data for any given producer or farmer that you're bringing into your program, using the common profile, which I'll show. And then also it pushes all that data to their FarmOS instance so that it's actually theirs and controlled by them. So, you know, when you go to create a survey, you're going to put in the name, you're going to allow submissions for, or I'm sorry, you're going to go to the group and you're going to put in your group name. So, you know, I'll just do Our-Sci here. But what this does is it means anybody who's submitting to this is going to default submit to your group. And that's really important because you want to be able to manage those submissions. And if it's submitted to another group, then you won't have administrative rights to that submission. So it's just important when you're creating a survey to submit to your intended group by default. Sorry. All right, so I've got the right group, I've got the name. Now I'm going to pull in the common profile. So normally, if you were building a survey, you would just put in survey stuff. You would put in text questions and multiple choice and whatever. But here, we're using the common profile, which you guys already know about because we've been talking about this forever. So let me do that again, sorry. So you click on here, but instead of choosing a question, you're going to choose the question set library, search question library. And then in the question library, you're going to see a bunch of question sets. Question sets are just groups of questions created and curated by someone for a specific purpose. And in this case, we have this common profile. And I did change the name, just FYI. We used to call it common onboarding, but common profile is more consistent with FarmOS language. And I think it's also more consistent with how we're actually using it. So when you click on that, you're going to see a description of the common profile question set. It's got some of the information in here, who's maintaining it. It's got recent updates, so it is version controlled. You can see this one is on version 39. And then if you scroll down, you can see everything that's actually in it. And question sets can actually have question sets inside them. So there is a contact and address question set that's embedded inside the common profile question set. And that's because it can be used for other things besides just this. And so it's its own question set. You can tell that because it's green here, whereas the rest of the questions are white. So these are the questions that are in it. And I'm gonna pull that into my enrollment form, clicking on like add survey. So now it pops in. You can tell it's a question set because it's in green. And then what's unique about question sets is that the creator of the question set is going to allow you to hide or change certain things. So some things are required, but some things you can hide. So if I didn't want this whole location box, maybe I'm not collecting information about a location from someone, I can click on hidden, and that is now hidden. And the people who are filling out my form aren't going to see these questions. Some things I can hide, but I can also modify. So this is an interest question, says, what opportunities you're looking for. And this one I actually can modify. So if I had my own custom opportunities that weren't on this list, or I wanted to change this list, I could do that. I can add an item here and add my own custom things. So question sets are constrained to some degree. Some things you can't change. For example, this contact name is a required question. What else? There's a couple of required questions in here that I can't change, but there's not that many. Most of the stuff we can change. So yeah, that's the basics. So I pulled in my common profile. I'm going to go through, in this case, I'm not going to, but I could go through and make some adjustments if I needed to, hide things, modify things. And then I'm going to save. And then I'm going to then say, all right, well, what questions in my enrollment am I missing from my specific program? So for you guys, you had it was only 4 questions, I think. So what we did is we actually created another question set, which was Regen Digital.
Greg, you're right.
Is the background really loud?
Right. Maybe this is just me. The video's turned off. Is that the same for everyone?
I've still got video feed, but that's happened to me before.
Yep. Okay. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. So for you all, we created another question set, which was the Regen Digital profile, same idea. And in this profile, you had a couple of custom questions: what level of readiness, natural resource management region, land care group. So these are things specific to you. Again, still has a description and everything. Hang on a second. And so again, if you need this, this is something that you need to create, save as a question set, and then be able to import here. So I'm just gonna add this to the survey. I'll click down here. So we add it towards the end. And then I'll just, for this one, again, this is just for testing. I'm just gonna stick it here at the end. So now we've got our common and we've got our custom profile, and then we're ready to go. The detail to add here, which is something you could do, but really we're doing for you is connecting the plumbing, basically getting the data from these profiles into people's FarmOS instances. And that's happening through these API compose statements, which you can just sort of see here, but they're really just mapping data literally from this survey into FarmOS and a specific data piece there. So we've done that already for both of these things. It's something that we'll probably have to help on, but it is something long-term you can do yourself, and we're trying to simplify this down a little bit. But there's a mapping between the question set and FarmOS. So I just want to make sure to point it out. Any questions so far? All right. So I'm going to ditch this survey just because my goal here was to show it to you, not to actually use it. So I'm just going to delete it. And so now we've got a group. We know our group structure. We've created a survey. We've added the common profile. We've modified it to our needs. We've added our custom profile with our additional questions. Now we have this final enrollment form, and I'm going to actually just use your actual enrollment form here. And that's what we want to get out to people. So now we're to the point, that's why it seems silly, as we're talking about enrollment. It took us this long just to get to the enrollment part. So now we actually have to bring people into the system. So how do we do that? Well, we're gonna invite them into the SurveyStack group, and then we're gonna create a FarmOS instance on their behalf and associate it with them, and then we're gonna send them this form. So those are the next three things that we're gonna do one at a time here. So go into groups. I find our group, Regen Digital. And we're going to go into the admin page. And in the admin page, I can actually invite members. So I'm going to invite someone to be a user. So I guess you want to do this. I think you're already in there. I'll just do it myself. It's easiest. I don't know. So we'll do that. You can send them an email now, or you can send them an invitation, or not send them an invitation, they just send them a link later on. Well, one thing to note here, this is a point at which usually people are going to make one of two choices here. They're either going to do all this stuff asynchronously. They've got farmers that they're working with that are pretty tech savvy, that are already engaged. They can send them invitation emails and they're not going to fail, right? Or they're going to click on them and move through the process. That's fine. You can do all of the stuff I'm about to show asynchronously with producers. The other option is to be on a call with a farmer, or on a video call, or being at the farmer's place and doing it basically with them in real time and doing some of this work on their behalf. So I just want to point that either of those paths is fine. You can do either of those things. And you can have farmers do some and some other farmers do others. It's up to you. I'm going to show the more I'm sitting with the farmer, because it's a little bit more complicated and has more steps, but you can do it either way. So let's imagine I'm on the phone with the farmer. So I'm going to say, great, I'm going to sign you up. You hit submit. That's going to send them an email, which is going to show up in their inbox eventually. Here we go. So this is what the email looks like, just so you have a sense. And they're going to click on join. I'm going to do that, I think, in a private browser so that it doesn't auto log me in.
Just a quick question on that, Greg. In terms of if you have subgroups, does that invite them to a subgroup or still to the top level group? And
I would invite them to the subgroup. Yeah. Yeah. It's up to you. If you're a member of a top level group, you are also by default a member of subgroups, but not the other way around. Also, if you're an admin of a top level group, you are by default an admin of all subgroups, but not the other way around. So, yeah.
And the survey that's completed will be submitted to the subgroup as opposed to you'll still be able to see it at the top level, but that's the advantage of having them, inviting them to the subgroup. The survey will be submitted to that subgroup.
Yeah, exactly. And then since it's submitted, and this is something that we'll want to work on because I think we have a little bit of work to ensure it's going to the right group with the minimum amount of potential confusion. But yes, like if you're submitting to a subgroup, then the assessor who's in charge of that subgroup can manage it. If they submit it to the higher level group, that assessor can't manage it because they're not an admin of that higher level group. That makes sense.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to click on Join Regen Digital. Cool. So now it confirmed my account and it joined me automatically to Regen Digital. So I'm going to move this down here. So great. If I refresh this, I can now see that, you know, Greg 11 is now on here as a member. Cool. So now, of course, I'm on the phone here with Greg 11. Yeah, let me plug in my computer. Don't want to die halfway through this. Okay. So, right, I'm on the phone here with Doppelganger Greg. I should have just called it something else, but, and, you know, I'm confirming that they want to be part of the program. Great. And now I'm going to create their FarmOS instance. So now that's the next step. So I'm going to go over here to this hamburger menu. Click on FarmOS. Right now, we've invited you all to be super admins. So you should have this. If you don't, you just need to log out and log back in. So just to note that for some reason it doesn't show up, log out, log back in, and make sure you're logged in with the address that we have on file for you, which is probably the one we communicate with. But if it's not working for some reason, just let me know. We'll make sure to get you access. This will, at some point pretty soon, be something that's available through the group admin feature rather than the super admin. But for now, this is where it is. So you're going to go there, click on FarmOS. And these are really all just tools for you to see, create instances, and then see who those instances are connected with. So we're going to create an instance. It's going to be associated with the Regen Digital group. It could be a subgroup if we want to. We're going to be using the Regen Digital plan. And just to show these plans, this is the plan name, and then this is the extension associated with it. So you guys really want this one because this is the one with the extension that's actually going to get you what you want. And then we're going to put in the farm name. We can check the URL to make sure that that exists and it's available. And then, you know, we'll put in the and then give me an address somewhere. Anybody in Australia, preferably.
1 Old Chittaway OLD, and then Chittaway is CHITTAWAY.
You picked the hard one. All right, keep going.
I should have gone with something easier.
Smith Road or something. Yeah, where?
One golden highway. There you go.
Wow. All right. Okay. Where?
Caslis. CASILIS.
Right. New South Wales.
New South Wales.
Okay. Cool. All right. And then this would be Sydney then-ish time. So owner of the FarmOS instance is going to be, you know, this person, same person. That would be the email address. Then we can add fields now if we want to. We don't have to. I'm going to skip that, but you can. we're going to agree to the terms of service. This may be a point where you want to tell the farmer or really point them to this policy, because you can see the policies here if you're sitting down with them, or you can send them an email with the policy. They're going to see it. It's actually in the email they're going to get on confirmation, but just to confirm there. And then we're going to register the instance. And then it takes, like we said before, it takes like 2-3 minutes to get there. I'm just going to show you how you can confirm in that 2 minutes. I'm going to show you how you can see who's connected to what. So if I go into this FarmOS thing, the way these instances work is users like GBA, like Greg11, have, and this is just a little note, you have to refresh your browser after this. So anyway, I'm going to refresh my browser. So you can see, I can see this user, Greg11, has one farm associated with them. They are the owner, and it's currently mapped. I can unmap them by clicking on Unmap, and that means they'll no longer have access through SurveyStack to this farm. They'll still have a login to their FarmOS instance, but they're not going to see plantings and fields and stuff like that through SurveyStack. So that's what this is about. I can basically do the same thing in this groups view, and I can search for my group and say, what does Regen Digital have? What farms are mapped to it? Okay, this one, right? Which makes sense. That's the one we just created. Again, we can unmap or map new farms there. So this just gives you the ability, if you've created a bunch of instances, but you made mistakes, so you need to move them around or remap, these are the tools to go look at your options in order to do that. So now, there you go. So my FarmOS instance is ready. We've talked about this. This is one of my conversations with Mike. I think we have a solution for it, but we are going to change the way this works. If I'm on the phone with Doppelganger Greg, he doesn't ever actually have to do this. He doesn't really have to click on this. It's just a reference for him if and when he wants to log into his instance. But if he does come and click on it, he'll be able to see his instance and reset his password if he wants to. We did kind of fix that, so now he can set his password up here, but otherwise he's just seeing that address, which hopefully is here and correct. So that's that. All right. So now let's say I'm going to do this all over the phone. Let's make that assumption. If I wasn't, let me show you both ways. Let's say I'm going to send this person an email and they're going to fill it out themselves. If I'm going to do it that way, I'm going to go back into groups and into Regen Digital, into admin, and I'm going to use this call for submissions feature. And this call for submissions feature allows me to select my enrollment survey, Regen Digital Enrollment, and send it to everybody I want to send it to so they can fill it out. The benefit of using the call for submissions is they don't have to log in. We're sending them a magic link which pre-logs them in. And really, practically, the user never has to log into SurveyStack again if you just always use this feature, which is nice because at least among farmers, it's a real problem. So I'm going to select the people I want to send this to. Right now, I'm just going to send it to Greg11. Click send. This is something you see it fixed. It should go back to the previous screen, but it doesn't. That did actually send. It's in my notes. So now Greg11 got this request. He needs to click on this link. Again, I'm going to click on it in my private browser here so that I don't make a mistake. This is the other thing that we talked about going directly to the survey. I'm also talking to Manuel and putting that into some work packages. I did want to get a sense if you guys were interested in like supporting that feature, if it was important enough. That was the other question. But anyway, for now, we get to here. They click on the start survey. They've got their farm connected and off they go. Right now they're filling out the survey. So that's one way to fill it out. The other way to fill it out, if you're on the phone with that person, is to say, all right, Doppelganger Greg, let me ask you a bunch of questions, right? And in that case, you're just going to go to the survey, read on digital enrollment. Oh, sorry, before we do that, you're going to go to, what you need to do is, when you start this survey, it's gonna ask which farm you're sending this to. And you, the assessor, isn't gonna have this farm connected to your account right now. And so that's the first thing we need to do if you're gonna fill it out on their behalf. So you're gonna go into Farm OS. You're gonna go to users. You're gonna select yourself. And you're going to add the instance for them that you just created. And you're going to map it. Don't map yourself as the owner. You're not the owner. You're just mapping it temporarily so you can fill this thing out on their behalf and submit it. So I'm going to click map. Now I see it there. I'm not the owner, but it is mapped. So now I'm going to go to the enrollment form. And now I see it. So now I can submit to this. So now I'm on the phone with Doppelganger Greg going like, all right, what's your name? You know, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to fill this whole thing out and then submit it. Yeah, let's fill out sort of the minimum required here. So just so you can see how this works. Oh, I should have copied that address, actually. Give me another address, or give me that same one, or something. I can just pick one, but it's more interesting when you give me something that's like an actual farm. Maybe I'll just go find one. It's quicker. Oh, actually, you know what? I have one because I always use it for testing. Hang on. There it is. Kaibunga, South Australia. Anybody know where that is?
Nope.
All right. Well, that's where I go. It looked like a farming area. All right. Then I can go here. This is a cool map because you can. It's a little. It's not quite perfect, but it's pretty good. If I search Kaibunga, I can find it. Zoom in, and now I can do my property boundary. So, you know, let's imagine it's this. And then let's imagine, just to make it hard, that there's two. The one's right next to the other one. So there's my property boundary, 2 spots. Hit next. Now this we were just working on today. I hope this works, can't guarantee it. But this actually gets a bunch of soil and weather information from that area. It works internationally, US included. So let's see if this works. It takes a second because it has to make a whole bunch of API calls. But the reason this is useful is that all of the models, Comet, CFT, basically everything, benefit from having some basic weather data. He might be working on this right now. Let me see. We were just working on this before this call. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll skip it. But it's pretty. It pulls in like monthly average, min and max rainfall and temperature, as well as like biomass, region, zone, Köppen classification, and some other stuff. So that'll all get saved to their FarmOS instance. If it's useful, You can have them upload an image or other types of files that then you can manually use. I mean, you were talking about having just like images that people were sending. This just gives you a space to upload those images if you want to support them that way. What are their interests, all that kind of stuff. This is your custom questions for your enrollment. What's your land care management region? I did update these. The land care group now auto-populates. So if people put in a previous group, it'll show up for the next person. And then same thing with affiliations. If there's common affiliations, they'll show up. We'll save you a little bit on the data management. And type of operation. Again, you guys are going to have, I think actually this is right. A lot of these things are optional. You don't have to ask them if you don't want to. This is your, how much land question. If your land is share farmed or not. These are optional questions. You can skip them anyway, but it's totally up to you. Ask if you have certifications. I'm just going to say no. If you say yes, then you get a bunch of lists. You can click through. How do you keep farm management records? And then if you want to, you can provide the software. And then your goals, I changed that to monitoring goals, but we could get rid of this altogether. I think we should have a broader discussion about this because I think what you guys are saying probably connects. And it would be good to talk to some of the open team members about how to reformat this. Primary motivations, and then we're all done and you have a chance. Feedback, if you're frustrated about it, you can give more detailed feedback. I hope this works because now I'm worried because we were just messing with this that he made changes, but I don't think so. So I'm going to submit this right now. I'm submitting it through my SurveyStack account, but it's to their farm, right? To the doppelganger's farm. So I'm going to hit submit. This is where if they were trying to submit somewhere else, they could actually change it. But we're just submitting to Regen Digital, so we're good. Cool. So it all worked. So so now there's a couple of things. I always like to have like a couple of ways to confirm that everything did what it was supposed to do. If you had had errors, it would have told you what the errors were. We didn't have any errors, but if that happens, please just screenshot it and send it back to us. We can troubleshoot those errors. This is all built on schemas that are pretty tight. So usually it's going to tell you what in the survey was wrong if something was wrong. But as long as we don't change anything, that's not going to happen. So one place to know if it's submitted correctly to SurveyStack is to go into the results section of our survey. And we can see that submission right here. You can see all the answers on this top line, and you can see all the values and all that kind of stuff. If they did upload a file, it shows up like this. And then you get it's going to download the file when you click on it, and then you can open it and look at it if you're trying to support them. So that's one way. The other way to see it is to actually log into their FarmOS farm and go see if they have any profiles here. So one of the things that came up last time is we can't really see the profile. We don't have a good way to see the profile, but we can actually see it. So this is one of my questions here is if this is a sufficient solution for now as we develop a better solution. But you can see the profile if you go to the farm, right? The core farm thing / profile and then /1. So now here's our profile. It's not pretty, but it's here, right? Contact name, motivations, the goal, the role, all that jazz. This is the common profile. And the way these profiles are submitted, they're just submitted in order. It's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So submitted, first one was the common profile, and the second one is our Regen Digital specific profile, and that has the answers here. So you can confirm that it was submitted to SurveyStack by going to the results page and looking here. You can confirm it actually got into the PharmaOS profile by going to this, the URL /profile and then /1, number 2, number 3. We can talk about how we're going to improve this process. But I guess a question that I have is, for now, is that sufficient for you all to be able to confirm what you're doing? Or do we need sort of like a minimum way to visualize the profile using, the standard UI? I'm talking like the next 3 months.
I think that'll do for now. We've got grander ambitions, but for now it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know that Paul and Mike want to take the time to actually do this profile stuff correctly. So it's a question of, do we put a little time now to get a minimum thing, or do we spend that? So, yeah.
And Greg, was the profiles tab on there under the settings? I'm not sure if Mike has deployed this yet.
I don't think so, because I looked the other day and I didn't see it.
Okay. It'd be the settings in the top right.
Oh, I didn't know where to look for it.
Okay, I don't think he's deployed this then.
Okay, all right. If we do have an intermediate solution, we will let you know, I guess is the short. Is that right, Paul, basically? Okay. Yeah, cool. All right. Okay, last bit. This is the last bit. So now, within the next couple days, I'll have a SurveyStack form where you can create, and I'll just show you kind of what it'll look like, where you'll be able to create fields. So you'll be able to use this form if you want to. And it's basic field creation form, field name, description if you want. It's all the same stuff that you would expect. So you can create your fields here. The way this will work is you'll be able to do multiple fields in one shot. That's kind of my goal. So, that way you can line up your edges a lot better. Ada. Or you can use just PharmaOS directly in order to create your fields. And that's pretty straightforward. You just go into Assets, Land, and then add a land asset. And then you're just going to create your field from here. Make sure it's marked as a field. And then the key piece of information really is just this geometry piece. So again, you're just going to zoom in and do your geometry. I don't even know where I am right now. But you've got all your tools here. And then when you're done, you're going to hit save, and that's going to create the field. So those are your field creation options. You can do it in SurveyStack. You can do it here. Okay, so last piece. Yep, last piece. Things go wrong, as they will. And you're going to need to resubmit data. So let's go back to that piece of data we just submitted. File it. Not right here, bud. Go to the other room and do that. So let's say Doppelganger Greg screwed up and put in the wrong information, and I need to update his information. What you can do is you can go, sorry, I went through it quickly, but you can go to your survey, your enrollment survey, go to the results page, find that submission, and then hit resubmit. If it was submitted by the wrong person, you can reassign it also. Maybe you submitted it to the wrong group, the wrong subgroup, something like that. You can reassign the group, and you can also reassign the submitter. But I'm not going to do that right now, but you can do that. What I'm going to show is that you can actually resubmit the data and how that shows up in PharmaOS. So I'm going to hit resubmit. maybe the mistake, it was a mistake, so I'm going to say it was incorrect data. I'm going to go into the same farm here, but I'm going to change the name to, Wordy, let's say. And then I'm just going to hit submit again. It's going to go back to still getting submitted to Regen Digital. Close the door. All right. So that's done. So now I can go confirm that change. So if I go again into the results for Regen Digital Enrollment, I can see now the name is updated. It's Andrew Ward. If I wanted to look at the original submission, I could click on the Show Archived Only, and you can see that that original submission was archived. That's right here. And it's been replaced by this one, and they're linked, actually. So you can kind of track changes that way. I can also go here and see that that changed. If I go to the profile question, you'll see if I go to profile 1, it's not there anymore because we deleted it. And profile 2 is the same way. So the way these work, they're just incremented. So the new one's going to be submitted as profile 3. There's the new one, it's got Andrew Ward. And then the new Regen Digital is going to be profile 4. You can go in the room, but you got to be quiet here. So these are the sorts of things where we know that we only ever want to have one profile of each type. So this is kind of like a wonky way of doing it because it's like it allows multiple profiles. So that's why we really want to fix this and make this more fixed. But you can resubmit. The information's there and it's accessible through other services. And that's really been the goal. So I think that is it, start to finish. So yeah, now time for questions or thoughts.
Sorry, Greg, just on that, in PharmaOS, if you hit edit within the profile,
yeah,
does that allow, so if someone edits there, so that's just not going to be reflected in SurveyStack, that's what you're saying?
That's right. Yeah, but honestly, it doesn't even matter because we just delete and replace anyway. So even if you did hit edit, we would delete and replace if you resubmitted from SurveyStack. So I would suggest for you all to have a convention, either resubmit from SurveyStack always, or just use that as your intake tool and always edit directly in PharmaOS at this point until we get further down the road. Yeah. Sorry,
just to be really clear. So, but if you're editing on that profile /1/1 page and you update it, it's not going to update you'll still be on profile /1. It won't resubmit the form in SurveyStack and create profile /3.
Yeah, no, it's not. We're not. The two services aren't like synced in a two-way. Yeah, it's just like we're pushing one time, So yeah. So like I said, I would create a convention where you either do one or the other all the time.
Yep. Great. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
And I think it depends. If you plan, SurveyStack is nice for being able to kind of quickly dive into information across multiple profiles and stuff like that. So if you're going to use that, I would suggest doing it through SurveyStack. But either way will work. Some of the data here is also going to look a little odd. Actually, let's look at that because I haven't actually done this before, the editing. Oh.
Do you want to still be recording this bit?
Yeah, it's fine. I guess I can stop. Did you guys have any other questions?
Not really, but with Florian available and timing.
Sure.
Is there a little bit of documentation around the data formats? If we want to integrate some of these, would be nice.
Yeah.
And we probably, but Paul, we have a meeting today anyway, Paul, today, so we probably talk about those details then a little bit further. So yeah.
I do think you could edit in here actually. So sometimes, some of these things are like matrix forms, so they look a little weird here. but it's not very many, and the rest of them are pretty good. You're just not necessarily going to get all the menu options, you know, like you're not going to get like the list of product options or some things like that. But I mean, it works. You can do it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll stop recording now. Whoops.